So I just got back from Prague and Pilsen, woke up this morning at 5 o'clock, and I'm in Manchester for the derby game against Manchester City. It's been a pretty mad few weeks, to be honest. I had my book out, we've been doing podcast tours, and I did the interview with Sir Jim Ratcliffe for United We Stand. And that came about because, well, I was going to meet him in October, but that didn't happen. I saw the news of the ticket price rises a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of my readers were not happy with that at all. So I decided it would be good to talk to Jim Ratcliffe, to interview him about it. So I asked, and to be fair to him, he was up for it. So I was like, right, bring it on. So I went down to Carrington, where I was told it was going to be a Zoom call, and it was actually us both together in person. In fact, Dave Brailsford and Omar Barada were in the room. They both left the room, and Jim Ratcliffe and I spoke. I got told I'd have half an hour. It's not ideal, but it's sufficient. I ended up speaking to him for 36 minutes on a whole variety of issues. Ticket prices was a really pertinent one, and I had my view and he had his view, and we agreed on some things and we disagreed on other stuff. To be fair to him, this isn't someone who does PR spin. He tells you exactly what he's thinking. There wasn't a word changed from our conversation. So I like journalism like that. We spoke about the women's team, everything, the changes that are still to come, the changes that have gone on so far. I mean, he's stressed that they've actually done loads in the 9 months they're there. I'm pointing towards where we were sat, which was in a temporary room at Carrington, because tens of millions are being spent on improving Carrington. The stadium behind me has obviously been on the agenda. I asked Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who's going to pay for any redevelopment or any potential new stadium? And there's no clear answer to that. That's the big issue. It's all right fans saying, scale this one down and build a new one behind it. I'm thinking, oh yeah, with what? That is a big issue. Ironically, I'd met Andy Burnham, the mayor of Manchester, earlier on in the day before meeting Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and I've known Andy since 1998. He's a football fan. It's all right for an Evertonian, and he's really keen for Old Trafford's project to work. But what they cannot do is give Manchester United public money. They can help. They can shift, for example, the freight rail line, which is over that way. I'm not going to do another one of these videos where I go, and that's the North Stand, and that's the Ferguson Stand. Actually, they're both exactly the same thing. And that's the Stretford end over there. So there's a lot of things up in the air at the moment. And there's been a lot of change in 2014 as we come towards the end of the year. I think we're going to get a lot more changes. And I feel pretty conflicted. And that's one reason I wanted to speak to Jim Ratcliffe. I've had people I know really well lose their jobs. And that's really sad. And the United fans and working class people from Manchester who love the club. Equally, I realise that no business can be running along losing as much as Manchester United have been losing. It's just not sustainable. And Ratcliffe says in the interview, yeah, you can go to banks, but it just catches up with you in the end. I asked him about increasing his shareholding. He's got no plans to at the moment. Look, rather than me talking about it, go out and get United We Stand. That's where you can read all 4,000 words. You will have seen a lot of it in the media, but we've also had a surge in subscriptions. You can, if you don't go to matches, or you're not in the UK or Ireland where you can buy it in newsagents, you might be better off getting the digital edition, because then you can read it on your tablet or on your phone even. Although we do have subscribers to the printed edition in 34 countries around the world. But I think it's important to support that type of independent journalism. And I'm absolutely delighted because loads of you have done exactly that. Trains just going underneath on the main Manchester to Liverpool rail line. Don't think the rail line's getting diverted, but if that didn't exist, it would be far less complicated as to redeveloping Old Trafford. So the form of the team has been up and down. I'm pretty encouraged by Ruben Amorim. I can see what he's trying to do. I'm seeing players like Højlund or Mazraoui becoming really key to him, even though every player has had their opportunity. And it's a bumpy ride. It's a bumpy ride for the team, but also for the club. And Ratcliffe says, it's going to continue being like this. But I, along with many other Manchester United fans, wanted that INEOS bid to succeed. Equally, I think we should ask searching questions about what is going on a monthly basis. And when I saw that Dan Ashworth was moving on, I was surprised when I read that. Looking back through the interview, there's several indicators there that something big was going to happen, because he talks about further change. He also talks about the antenna he has for people and getting to know people and realising that some people are going to work within their system for running the club and other people are not going to work. And I think he'd rather, if something's not working, he'd rather than let it fester, get it sorted out straight away. I wouldn't say he's in a hurry to make Manchester United successful again, but I also think he's not going to waste any time doing it. And I can't stand here and say everything's going to work, because it's such a complex, difficult job, and every other football club wants to be the best as well. And you can't just spend your way out of a problem like you used to be able to. Like Abramovich did when he went into Chelsea, or when City got their owners. They just spent a load of money. You can't do that now. Manchester United are particularly hamstrung by the financial fair play restrictions. And that's not going away anytime soon. And that's partly because the team have not been successful, so they've not been getting Champions League revenues or the commercial revenues attached to that. And ticket revenues have come to the fore. I personally think there's easier ways to make extra revenue rather than charging 66 quid for tickets. I get that tickets are going up generally across the board, not just here but at other clubs, but I think that's got to be within reason. I don't think that fans should be priced out. The fans who go home and away, because there's different types of people. If you come in once a season, your price point is very different from someone who lives in one of them houses over there who comes to every single game and brings the atmosphere. And I think when you start dabbling in fan culture, it can be pretty problematic. So last December was horrendous, 5 defeats. That was the worst December since 1933. Making a good go of it this December with 2 defeats so far, but I'm not going to smirk at that, because I want the team to start winning again. And it was a win in the Czech Republic in the cold there, and then we've got the games against City, and then Spurs away. We've got 2 really tough cup games. Remember that run where every tie was drawn at home? That's gone now. Spurs away in the League Cup, Arsenal away in the FA Cup. Both really difficult, especially that Arsenal one. And then over Christmas, we've got games against Bournemouth, Wolves away, Newcastle at home, and then Liverpool away at the start of the new year. So the games are coming thick and fast, but that's the same for everybody. And United have got a rare luxury now of having almost all the players back available and in training, and they're all getting their opportunities, and there's going to be a load of games for all of them as well. So even though the league table looks horrendous from a Manchester United perspective, it's also fascinating to see how it all unfolds with a confident new manager and some players who are doing all right. Højlund's doing well. Ahmad's doing well. These aren't the best of times at all, but a few wins and we could be verging into good times. Good luck to Ruud van Nistelrooy at Leicester City, apart from when he plays Manchester United. It's a shame that couldn't work out properly. And we're just going to focus on the Manchester United soap opera. I'll be going to almost all the matches. I'll be doing my ratings. So tune in. I'm doing my podcasts as well. And United We Stand. It's on sale for the next 2 matches, providing we've got copies left to sell, which we do have actually, because it pissed it down here for the Forest game. And the sellers, who I should also thank, reckon it was in the top 3 of worst ever selling conditions. Thankfully, it's nice and dry today in Manchester. It's a big weekend in this city. Let's hope that we're smiling on Monday morning after the game against Manchester City.